The entire hour tonight. Now, tonight, many Americans are on high alert after a series of suspected mail bombs were sent to several prominent Democrats all across the country. At this hour, nobody knows who is responsible. Let me be clear, and let me reiterate what I've been saying now for a month on this program so many times. Violence, threats, intimidation, it has no place in this country. We are the United States of America. We solve our political differences, which are very acute at this moment, at the ballot box. That would be 13 days from now, without bloodshed. Now, the disturbed individual responsible must be held accountable. And with that said tonight, sadly, we have so many people on the left and in the mainstream media all day rushing to judgment, as usual, to score cheap political points. Many are actually blaming the president, Fox News, talk radio, yours truly. It's a disgrace when just the opposite is true. And we're going to respond to this slander on this program tonight. We'll also point out how Democrats, after weeks of literally calling for incivility and kicking and, getting in people's faces and following them, telling them you're not wanted anywhere anymore, all of a sudden are pretending to be the party of peace. This is hypocrisy at its worst. We'll expose this massive double standard. We'll show you the toxic political environment that many that are complaining today, they themselves fostered in the lead up to these important midterm elections. So sit tight, buckle up. We need the full hour tonight, a lot of ground to cover. We start with our breaking news opening monologue. All right, tonight we have some very disturbing news. Manila envelopes, each containing crude-looking pipe bombs, targeted several high-profile Democrats all across the country. Now, these packages were addressed to former President Obama, Hillary Clinton, Eric Holder, George Soros, and reportedly even Maxine Waters. Another package intended for CIA Director John Brennan was addressed to CNN's headquarters in New York. Now, all the packages listed Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz in the return address. Thankfully, none of these devices exploded and no one was injured. And at this hour, a full-scale federal investigation is on to hunt down whatever maniac would be responsible for what is a despicable act. Now, you have heard me say over and over and over on this show, but I will repeat it one more time. Violence, threats, intimidation has no place in politics, no place in this country. And what we saw today is the work of pure evil. This is an act of terror, and I feel terrible for anybody who was threatened today. It's wrong, period. Now, I have had many, many threats myself over the years. I've had white powder sent to my office. One of my employees spent, 9 hours in isolation, and things even far worse than that I'm not going to talk about. My heart goes out to anyone ever threatened, anybody today, anybody tonight. No conservative that I know and would ever support this horrible act. No matter how strongly you disagree with someone's beliefs, everyone in this country deserves safety and security. I've said that throughout my career. Earlier today, President Trump immediately condemned this reprehensible act. Here's what he said. Take a look.
The safety of the American people is my highest and absolute priority. The full weight of our government is being deployed to conduct this investigation and bring those responsible for these despicable acts to justice. We will spare no resources or expense in this effort. And I just want to tell you that in these times, we have to unify. We have to come together and send one very clear, strong, unmistakable message that acts or threats of political violence of any kind have no place in the United States of America.
No place in this country. The president's right. Despite not knowing who is responsible for these mail bombs today, we had so many people rushing to judgment. The media, the left, Democrats, all trying to score cheap political points and a political victory on this. All day as this story was unfolding, they have no facts, immediately assigning blame to their political rivals, especially President Trump. In a joint statement, even Schumer and Pelosi saying President Trump's words ring hollow until he reverses his statements that condone acts of violence. CNN's fake news president, Jeff Zucker, he's blaming Donald Trump. There is a complete lack of understanding at the White House about the seriousness of their continued attacks on the media. Even when they lie, you're not allowed to call out lies. Blaming the president for an act of violence from an unknown perpetrator seems beyond shameful that a network that claims to put facts first, and of course the anti-Trump vitriol continued every minute, every hour, every second of the entire day. Take a look.
Let's remember, we have a president who has talked for a couple of years now about imprisoning his political rival in Hillary Clinton, who has encouraged violence against the media.
The president and his allies, they need to dial down the political rhetoric. They are making people less safe. They are making journalists less safe.
It is hard to suspend belief and not see the context of what is occurring today with a president who has repeatedly suggested that the press is the enemy of the people.
We are in an era now where violence seems to have license by the president of the United States.
If you look at who they've targeted so far, it's almost like they're following Donald Trump's Twitter feed.
Fox News hasn't gotten a bomb yet.
Words are words. The president, by the way, was not the only target of the blame game by your left-wing media trying to score cheap political points. Fox News, talk radio, yours truly were actually vilified. One particularly uninformed leftist pretending to be a reporter at NBC tweeting, quote, "There will be a rush to pin these mail bombs on extremists," talking points from fringe websites and communities on Facebook and Reddit and so on. But Soros, Obama, and the Clintons have been viewed as the root of all evil on talk radio and Fox News for over a decade. Now, before this abject idiot tries to blame me, Fox News Talk Radio, for the acts of clearly a disturbed individual who we don't know who it is yet, maybe they should watch an episode of this show or listen to my radio show, because night after night, for a month, I have called for calm. I have condemned these confrontations, these mobs, these violent acts on the left and right. I don't assign blame based on political expediency, as clearly you and your colleagues are. When a Bernie Sanders supporter, remember, we all watched, tried to assassinate Republican lawmakers on a baseball field, nearly successfully killing someone that I like personally and consider a friend, House Majority Whip Steve Scalise, I didn't blame Bernie Sanders. Nor should anybody have blamed Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders didn't tell that evil maniac to kill Republicans. You might remember this. I'm not blaming Bernie Sanders.
No, of course
Bernie Sanders supporters.
No.
This was one nut. Remember the Bernie Sanders supporter? The one that targeted Republicans at baseball practice, leaving Congressman Steve Scalise fighting for his life? Well, was the media blaming Democrats for that? No. And by the way, they shouldn't have. And I don't blame Bernie either. Nobody should have blamed Bernie. Political disagreements, even political battling back and forth, they're not supposed to be marching orders for deranged individuals. When President Trump, this show, when we rightly call out and expose the left for their hypocrisy, and we will do more of it in a minute, or deep state corruption, or the fake news media for reporting fake news almost every night, that's not inciting violence. I'm saying just the opposite. This is about going to the ballot box. That's where we settle our political differences. I didn't love it that Obama won twice. Didn't like it at all. But America goes on. And I said many times during his presidency, we've got to protect our president. Now, the same goes for anyone in the mainstream media, including those who trash Trump supporters or Democrats, or who bash conservatives day after day, night after night, 24/7. There's hardly a word in the dictionary, if it's negative, that I haven't been called at some point in my career, or that they haven't used against the president. Take a look.
The mobs that I see are the people who go to Trump rallies and laugh when Donald Trump mimics the testimony of an alleged victim of sexual assault. The mobs I see are the people who cheer when Donald Trump trots out the word "I'm a nationalist" and tells people to ignore the negative connotations, the lessons of history about what that's associated with.
He knows that in America, the word nationalist usually follows the word white nationalist. That's what it's meant in the 21st century. Trump voters understand, David Duke understands, that Donald Trump has to leave the word white out of his use of the word nationalist.
You hold down the woman while the rapist is raping her, and you didn't rape her. Are you a rapist? I mean, let's cut the BS.
Tens of millions of people voted for him after he showed his cards for years.
But are you suggesting that they're racist or they're...
Yes.
The people who vote, all the people who voted for Donald Trump are racist.
Yes.
You no longer say Trump's the bad guy. If you vote for Trump, you're the bad guy. If you vote for Trump, you are ripping children from parents' arms.
Now, while I deplore that kind of rhetoric, the left is not responsible for the sad actions of a lunatic. Now, sadly, there are crazy, deranged people from all backgrounds, all political points of view. Recently, Republican Senator, remember Susan Collins? She was the target when a suspicious package reportedly containing ricin was sent to her home. 3 weeks ago, packages were sent to President Trump. General Mattis, FBI Director Wray, CIA Director Gina Haspel, allegedly having ricin in them. Another suspicious parcel targeted Donald Trump Jr. and his family. His wife went to the hospital. Today, Don Jr. tweeted, quote, as someone whose family has directly been the victim of these mail threats, I condemn whoever did this, regardless of party or ideology. This crap has to stop, and I hope they end up in jail for a long time. Amen. So do I. Because I know from personal firsthand experience, it is a horrible thing to go through. What's happening to many people tonight, it has happened sadly many times to me in my career. We have been saying for months that the rhetoric we're seeing, the mobs we're seeing in this country, that everybody needs to calm down. Rand Paul said it. I've said it. Before someone gets hurt or worse, I've been saying it nightly. Recently, we reported that Republican Congressman Kevin McCarthy's office, well, they threw a boulder through the window. And night after night, we show you what? Disturbing video. Republicans stalked, harassed, kicked out of restaurants, and worse, with kids and children even involved. Take a look.
I hate that crude. I hate that crude.
Bagel is way hotter than you do.
We believe survivors.
We call on you to end family separation and abolish ICE.
Abolish ICE! Abolish ICE!
Why did you leave my husband alone? Why are you separating families? Why did you leave my husband alone? I'm not trying to suspect you, but why is he separating?
Henry Kissinger, on behalf of the International Criminal Court, you are a war criminal. You have committed genocide against the peoples of the world.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, you little white little.
Really?
Yeah. You're a little whitey, aren't you?
Now, while we on this program have been constantly now condemning this unacceptable behavior night after night, Democrats, the liberal media, they're nowhere to be found. They have been silent. They've been missing in action. When women are kicked out of restaurants with their kids and out of movie theaters, and Senator Cruz can't eat dinner with his wife, Heidi, and we saw what happened this weekend to Henry Kissinger and Mitch McConnell. And the media and fake news, CNN even lectured us, you can't call that a mob. CNN literally said, you can't call it a mob. Meanwhile, the rhetoric from the left constantly is demonizing their political opponents. They need a big fat mirror themselves tonight to look at how they say things. Take a look.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be?
Does one of us have to come out alive?
Please don't just come here today and then go home. Go to the Hill today. Get up and please get up in the face of some Congress people.
Michelle says that, when they go low, we go high. No. When they go low, we kick them.
Press always asks me, don't I wish I were debating him? No, I wish we were in high school. I could take him behind the gym. That's what I wish.
Remember Madonna? I think an awful lot of blowing up the White House or holding up severed heads of the President of the United States. Oh, I didn't see a whole lot of criticism on the left. A little, not a lot. Yesterday, former VP Joe Biden even compared the president to George Wallace. Today, he's singing a much different tune, tweeting, this country has got to come together. Oh, okay, crazy Uncle Joe. You can't go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have an Indian accent. Really, we got a lecture from Joe Biden, crazy Uncle Joe? And this is true of many Democrats. Remember Hillary Clinton? What did she say? We can't be civil with Republicans. Remember this?
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about. That's why I believe if we are fortunate enough to win back the House and or the Senate, That's when civility can start again.
Oh, today now she's singing a different tune after actual criminal acts against Democrats. Oh, it's only if it happens against Democrats. I'm beginning to catch on here. Now she's calling for us all to come together. Take a look.
It is a troubling time, isn't it? And it's a time of deep divisions, and we have to do everything we can to bring our country together.
Really? You said we couldn't be civil. Oh, that was last week. Oh, I understand how that works. Now, we can't, of course, forget about Congresswoman Maxine Waters repeatedly calling for Republicans to be stalked, harassed, confronted in grocery stores, department stores, gas stations. Tell them they're not wanted anywhere anymore. That was a couple of weeks ago. Take a look.
You have members of your cabinet that are being booed out of restaurants, who have protesters taking up at their house, who's saying no peace, no sleep. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
They're not welcome anywhere anymore. Oh, that was then. That was a couple of weeks ago. Now, Congresswoman Waters has issued a statement today that reads, I unequivocally condemn any and all acts of violence and terror. What happened to get a crowd, follow them into department stores, grocery stores, gas stations, tell them they're not wanted anywhere anymore? All these networks all day, selective moral outrage, they have been dead silent in the lead up to today, frankly, complicit in giving her and all of these people on the left a pass, and many of them themselves using incendiary rhetoric. The greatest hypocrisy of all today, here was New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Remember when he said this about conservatives living in New York, if they're pro-life, pro-Second Amendment? Listen to what he says.
Who are they? Are they these extreme conservatives who are right to life, pro-assault weapon, anti-gay? Is that who they are? Because if that's who they are, and if they are the extreme conservatives, they have no place in the state of New York. Because that's not who New Yorkers are.
No place in New York if you're pro-life, pro-Second Amendment. Anyway, he's calling for civility today. Wow. The champion of civility. Take a look.
Good. Is overheated rhetoric, extremism that pushes people to violence. And at the end of the day, we may have political differences, but this is one country. We're all Americans, e pluribus unum, out of many one, and keeping the debate and the dialogue civil is very, very important. And for elected leaders who in many ways set the tone, it is especially important.
E pluribus unum, except if you're pro-life and believe in the Second Amendment. What you just saw is a sad, pathetic double standard in the Democratic Party. This is what I call phony selective moral outrage, false blame. We see it over and over again. So quick to call for unity when Democrats are targeted. But when Republicans are threatened, as they have been for weeks and weeks, they've been silent. They obsess about Trump, Russia, collusion. No evidence, but they ignore Hillary Clinton purchasing dirty Russian lies and disseminating them to the American people to steal an election. Bought and paid for Russian lies, that's ignored by the same media. On the topic of sexual assault, they want a 7th FBI investigation into Brett Kavanaugh. It's called the Kavanaugh treatment. But they're silent, totally silent, the same people missing in action with all the allegations against Keith Ellison. They love Bill Clinton, Spartacus, Cory Booker, and others. The Democrats' silence when Sarah Sanders, Pam Bondi, Kirsten Nielsen are harassed and run out of restaurants. Ted Cruz run out of a restaurant with his wife. Mitch McConnell, a guy banging on his table this weekend. Rocks being thrown through Kevin McCarthy's office window. Violence, threats, intimidation, harassment. Let me tell you what it is. It's unacceptable for anybody. But the left's been silent. We've been outspoken. There is pure outright hypocrisy. They only seem to care when it's against members on the other side of the aisle, only when they can use it to attack President Trump and bludgeon him. Now, hopefully today, people are beginning to realize what I have been saying, what Rand Paul has been saying. The political climate in this country is getting dangerous. Somebody's going to get killed or worse. We don't want that to happen to anybody. Democrats, fake news, CNN, others, they all could have spoken out when something like, today's bomb scare happens. They should, but they should have also been denouncing all the incivility, all the kick them, all the follow them into stores. They're not wanted here anywhere anymore. And this is what matters. In 13 days, we solve our differences at the ballot box. I'm willing to accept that my side can lose. You have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to settle disagreements there. But even after 2016, they wanted to undo an election. And we saw all the corruption and laws broken in the aftermath of the 2016 election. The survival of our constitutional republic depends on law and order, equal justice under the law, equal application of our laws. We must protect the safety of every American. Okay, I'm all for civility. I really don't mind a good verbal debate with people. And I don't care if people call me names, no matter what the differences are. But we need to watch how bad this has gotten. And before somebody gets seriously hurt or worse, I pray that doesn't happen.